Hey guys, and welcome to another brand new video. In this video, we actually have some pretty honest to God, pretty big news when it comes to Sony, where we actually just saw them do probably one of the biggest investments I think we've ever had a chance to see so far, especially even in the news, when it comes to the studios, when it comes to, well, pretty much everything. So we have a lot of things to go talk about over here, and in my mind, it's going to be good news. Now, the news itself is, like, I would say pretty big as is in terms of, like, some huge investments and acquisitions, but as well, it kind of leads to a lot of really good news for the future as well for other games in development. So a lot of little nifty things to go talk about in this little midday video. So as well, if any of you guys are brand new, make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on. As well, for the brand new PlayStation 5 giveaway, Amazon links down below for the PS5 digital console and controller, Twitter and Twitch down below. We have the Target links down below, Amazon links down below, and all that stuff as well. And let's go dive in the video itself and leave a like if you guys would like. See, I thought I was going to be good on the coughs, but you want to what? At least I think we are feeling these a little bit better and talk a little bit more. Maybe I need to keep on the rest of my voice though, but we're trying our best. So what I mean is that Sony has now made a really huge investment in one of the biggest ones in literal history. Now, this is more in regards to like the future of their game developments and game studios, but I kind of like this type of news because it's kind of basically them putting their money where their mouth is. So I'm kind of hyped up for this. So if you guys have actually missed this news, as of recently now, we've had Sony go and invest a bajillion different dollars into now this big expansion. So this is looking pretty good to me. So if you guys missed this news, Sony's Firesprite Studio, which is like one of the PlayStation studios, is now moving to an office more than 20 times larger than its current one. Now, you guys might see that like initial headline and be like, well, who cares, or just moving buildings or whatever. Let's go talk about this a little bit more in detail, because this also leads a lot towards into games, at least in my opinion, too, as well. So, as you guys can see, this is now first and foremost, a 10-year lease. That's big first and foremost over there. Like, if you're doing a business, you're doing a building, I know a lot of my family's also worked with a lot of big type of, like, you know, industrial real estate, office spaces, whatever. Even some of my friends have their own real estate themselves. And typically, a 10-year lease is insane. Like, we're talking that's insanely long, especially in terms of, like, some of these really big properties. Because it basically means you got to be churning out millions upon millions of dollars. And now this is actually going to be one of the biggest ones as well in Liverpool, so the entire outside city itself, in now over 3 years. And you guys want to know who is actually the person who actually came up with the previous one? I believe it was Sony themselves. So once again, they're basically taking over all the real estate, getting the biggest offices, and it kind of goes to show a lot of cool stuff going on. So with this, PlayStation acquired studio Firesprite is now moving to a brand new office that's significantly larger than the one it currently occupies. The studio is currently based in Liverpool's Vanilla Factory, a building which contains a number of units converted into offices, retail, and leisure spaces. Firesprite's office unit at Vanilla Factory covers 2,295 square feet, according to the building's floor plan information. However, though, and this is kind of like the big news, like the crazy news, the company has now leased a 4-building cluster in Liverpool's Duke Street, which will now be giving it 50,000 square feet of space. Jeez. So if you guys had a chance to comparison before, that's basically around 20 times larger than the previous times. As you can see, it's, 2,300 times 20. That's some pretty big stuff. It's even bigger than that. So that is insane, first and foremost. So the new letting, which is basically the lease itself, which is now only a 3-minute walk away from the current Firesprite offices, consists now of 4 buildings, including a grade 2 building that used to be literally a public library. So this is insane. So first and foremost, like, I'm sure you guys could probably go and assume why this is big news and why this is cooler. We'll get to that in a second. But as you guys can see, this lease has now been officially confirmed until 2032. 2032. Like, that's a 10-year lease on a 50,000 square foot building. And if you guys are curious, you guys can maybe go and Google it or find out the actual numbers with it. But at the end of the day, that is some insane numbers. That's a lot of money to be spending, a lot of money to be investing, and this is all in the future of the PlayStation 5 games, which we'll get to in a second. But as you guys know, Firesprite is obviously a company with Sony, or if they ever want to go and share buildings with other people as well in the EU, or on top of this too, they just want to expand out the team, which also seems likely because they have multiple games in the works. This kind of gives like a big, like, push comes to shove, that these boyos are expanded and they're investing and they're trying to get some good content being worked out. And as well as I mentioned before, this is why it's even bigger news, because the largest rental / lease before was made in 2018 by none other than Fire Sprite's parents' company, Sony themselves, which leased a 65,000 square foot basically like area building at the Liverpool Echo newspaper's former building. The move to significantly larger combination will help Fire Sprite handle the numerous projects it's working on. So as you guys have a chance to go and see with this one, this is just Sony throwing in some big money. So if you guys don't know, the studio is currently working alongside Guerrilla Games on the PlayStation VR 2 title Horizon Call of the Mountain. And VGC also understands that it's also been taken development as of the... We've also seen like a little bit of leaks on this, especially with how well the Destruction All-Stars was doing, but this actually led to a really good push into Twisted Metal Reboot. And that was like one of the biggest games. Everyone was like, we want this, we need this, we should do this, etc., etc. And at the end of the day, I'm kind of in the same boat. I'm like, yes, if you like, I would probably play it, I'd probably enjoy it, give it a good multiplayer, really good graphics, and make it actually fun, and maybe we have a new car racing game that might be somewhat longevitified, last a long time, whatever the best word would be, maybe to go compete with, like, all their other racing games, or more probably namely Rocket League, which is very consistent. But obviously, when it comes to this, if you have a studio that's working on Horizon, which is meant to be one of the PlayStation VR 2's, like, big heavy hitter, like, that's the one game I've seen consistently being promoted on time and time again, they want that to be a good game. They want to make sure that game is perfect. They want people to go and see that game and they go and get wowed. Like, they'll see it on Twitch or they'll see it on YouTube or even just tweets and promotion, and they're like, oh my God, I should go buy a PlayStation VR 2. Oh my God, this is the coolest and best looking game I've ever had a chance to see. And the fact that we're now seeing Sony kind of somewhat committing, like, this is them essentially being like, this is going to happen, this is going to go good, let's get that good. That's a good sign. Like, it's a really good sign to go and see. So at the end of the day, they're investing some big money and they're trying to make some big plays happen. And I do think that makes a lot of sense, because if you have a studio that's already working on 3 different IPs and major ones, you want it going good. Because as you guys can even go and see as well, there's even some recent job listings on the studio's website that also shows that it's working on a AAA narrative-driven horror adventure game in Unreal Engine 5. And once again, the big thing is more on the AAA side. AAA is that big whammy jammy. If you want to go and have a proper good game, like God of Wars, Horizons, all of that, you need to go and invest the money. You got to have the workers, you have to have the assets, and you got to make sure it's working and feeling pretty good. So I would say like this is probably like, I don't want to exaggerate, probably at least $50 million, probably more. I'm not really sure how much of, 50,000 square foot per month, like for 10-year rental is, but this is obviously millions upon millions of dollars, let alone the studio itself, let alone the profits, let alone the, like, actually paying the staff, the cleaners, the janitors, developers, narrators, everything out there. It's insane. So this is huge news. Like, it may not be kind of big to you guys, but this would be essentially the same news where Xbox is like, oh my God, we're now investing into like a 100,000 square foot compound. Let's go make some really cool games happen. Or, hey, we're making like a brand new Halo studio, basically literally for an entire Halo building to make sure the multiplayer is good, or Forza building or whatever. And this is huge news. And I love seeing these big game companies, whether investing into other brands, so think like Xbox buying Bethesda or Activision, or say like Sony buying Bungie, or Sony even renting out these huge buildings, which are literally making the news because they're just so literally big. Like, this is a literal compound with multiple floors. Like, you could literally have probably someone living in here you probably wouldn't even notice in the first place, which that might be my next step in life. Honestly, I maybe be down with that, especially now that I think my cold is slowly getting a little bit better. But this is so cool. And as obviously, if you guys know, Fire Sprite was established by 2012 by former members of Sony Interactive Studio Liverpool after it was closed down by Sony. And then, funny enough, Sony then just acquired them anyway in September 2021, making it part of the official PlayStation family. Making the announcement, PlayStation studio head Herman Hulst stated, after a number of years closely collaborating on several video games together, including the Playroom and the Playroom VR, I couldn't be more delighted to welcome Fire Sprite to the PlayStation studio as our 14th studio. Quite a few members of Fire Sprite come from actually Sony themselves, and we're thrilled to let them go and be back. So the fact that we have even more news now in Twisted Metal, the PSVR 2 hopefully getting a little bit better, and huge investments, this is kind of a nice sign from Sony themselves. So make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on, as well for the brand new PlayStation 5 giveaway. Amazon links down below for the PS5 as well. Target links too on top of that, and the Twitter and Twitch you guys want to follow, and the usual everything else down below, like giveaways and stuff like that too. Time out if you guys want to go be a part of that, and I appreciate you guys all so much for watching in the first place.